At 8 p.m. in Japanese supermarkets, something happens that solves a problem the rest of the world is still debating. Staff walk through aisles with sticker guns, marking down fresh food by 30, 50, sometimes 70%. No waste, no guilt, no conferences needed. Japan turned the food waste crisis into a daily shopping opportunity and somehow made everyone happier in the process. Walk into a Japanese supermarket at closing time, and you will see something most countries have not figured out yet. A systematic, unapologetic, culturally accepted practice of selling food that is about to expire at dramatically reduced prices. Not hidden in the back, not treated like charity. Right there on the shelf, marked with bright discount stickers picked over by students, salary workers, and grandmothers who know exactly when to show up. This is not a desperate clearance. This is strategy, and it works so well that other countries should be copying it immediately instead of holding another conference about food waste reduction targets they will not meet. Japan is not just reducing waste with one clever trick. They have built an entire ecosystem of practices, technologies, and cultural attitudes around the idea that food should not be thrown away if someone could eat it. What happens at 8 p.m. is just the most visible part. Behind it is a web of solutions that touch everything from how rice balls are packaged to what happens when a typhoon disrupts supply chains. Some of these solutions are high-tech. Some are just common sense that somehow everyone else missed. All of them work. Let's go through them. 1. The discount sticker system that turned waste into profit. Every Japanese supermarket follows roughly the same schedule. Fresh prepared foods like bento boxes, onigiri rice balls, sushi, and sandwiches get their first discount around 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., usually 10 to 20% off. Then at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., staff come back through and add another sticker on top of the first one. Now it is 30 to 50% off. In the final hour before closing, some items hit 70% off. The stickers are large, bright, and impossible to miss. Yellow, red, sometimes both. You can spot them from across the aisle. There is no shame in buying them. Everyone does. The housewife buying dinner, the college student stocking up for the week, the office worker grabbing a late meal. This is normal shopping behavior, not bargain hunting stigma. The system works because the discounts are predictable. Regular shoppers know the timing. Some people plan their grocery runs around it. Show up at 7:30 p.m. and you are almost guaranteed to find discounted bentos. The supermarket does not lose money because the alternative is throwing the food away. Selling it at 50% off is better than 0% in the trash. The environmental impact is enormous. Supermarkets in Japan waste significantly less food than their counterparts in Europe or North America, and the discount system is a major reason why. No complicated apps. No food waste startups trying to reinvent distribution, just stickers and common sense. Meanwhile, in most other countries, supermarkets either throw food away the moment it hits the sell-by date or have such inconsistent discount practices that customers never know when to look for deals. Japan made it systematic, visible, and culturally normal. Simple, brilliant, universally helpful. 2. Expiration date precision that eliminates guesswork. Japanese food packaging does not just have one vague date, it has specific guidance that helps both stores and consumers make decisions. Most packaged foods have a printed date that indicates either the consume-by date or the best before date, and the distinction matters. The consume-by date is for highly perishable items like fresh meat, seafood, and prepared meals. It means the food should be eaten by that date for safety. The best before date is for items like snacks, canned goods, and dry products. It means the quality is guaranteed until that date, but the food is still safe to eat afterward. This clarity allows supermarkets to discount items approaching their consume-by date without any legal or safety ambiguity. They know exactly when the food is still safe but needs to move quickly. Some stores even print the hour on prepared food labels. Bento box might say it was made at 11 a.m. and should be consumed by 9 p.m. the same day. That specificity allows staff to discount it precisely and allows customers to make informed choices. You know exactly how fresh it is. In contrast, many Western countries have confusing label systems where best before, sell-by, and use-by dates are used interchangeably, and most consumers do not know which ones are about safety and which are about quality. The result is people throw away food that is still good, and stores do the same because no one is quite sure. Japan eliminated the confusion. The dates are clear, the decisions are easy. 3. Onigiri rice balls designed to stay fresh longer without preservatives. Walk into any Japanese convenience store and you will see rows of triangular rice balls wrapped in plastic. These are onigiri, rice with a filling wrapped in seaweed. They are cheap, filling, and extremely popular. But here's the engineering trick most people do not notice. The seaweed is not touching the rice until you open the package. Look closely at an onigiri wrapper and you will see it has 3 sections you pull in sequence. The wrapper is designed so the seaweed stays separate from the rice, kept in its own little compartment by a layer of plastic. When you are ready to eat, you pull the first tab, then the second, and the plastic separating the seaweed from the rice gets pulled away. Only then do the 2 touch. This keeps the seaweed crispy and keeps the rice from getting soggy. But it also extends shelf life. Because the seaweed is not in contact with the rice, moisture does not transfer. The rice stays at the right texture. The seaweed stays dry. The whole package can sit on a shelf longer without quality degradation. That means stores can stock more without worrying about rapid spoilage. It means fewer unsold rice balls at the end of the day. It is packaging engineering that directly reduces waste, and it makes the product better. Meanwhile, in most other countries, if you find a pre-made rice product, it is probably soggy within hours of being made. Japan designed the problem out of existence. 4. Convenience store supply chain systems that deliver fresh food 3 times a day. Japanese convenience stores like 7-Eleven, Lawson, and Family Mart do not just stock shelves once a day. Delivery trucks arrive multiple times. Fresh items like bento boxes, sandwiches, and salads are delivered in the early morning, around midday, and again in the evening. This constant replenishment means stores do not need to overstock. They order based on real-time data about what sells at different times of day. Morning deliveries bring breakfast items. Midday brings lunch bentos. Evening brings dinner options. Each delivery is sized to match expected demand. If a store consistently sells 40 bentos at lunchtime, that is roughly how many get delivered, not 80 just to be safe. The system uses decades of sales data and real-time adjustments for weather, local events, and day of the week. Rainy days mean more people buy umbrellas and hot drinks. Summer festivals mean more beer and snacks. The delivery schedule adjusts. This precision minimizes waste. Stores do not have huge surpluses at the end of the day because they did not overstock in the first place. What is left gets discounted using the sticker system. Very little hits the trash. Compare this to most Western convenience stores or supermarkets, which get one delivery a day or every few days and order in bulk to avoid running out. The result is either empty shelves or tons of waste. Japan built the logistics to avoid both problems. 5. The cultural practice of Mottainai that makes waste feel personally wrong. Mottainai is a Japanese word that does not translate perfectly into English. It expresses regret over waste, a sense that something valuable has been discarded before its usefulness was exhausted. It applies to food, objects, time, and even relationships. In the context of food, Mottainai is why Japanese people feel uncomfortable throwing away something that is still edible. It is not about frugality in a financial sense. It is about respect for the resource, the farmer who grew it, the energy that went into producing it, the fact that someone somewhere could have used it. This cultural attitude creates consumer behavior that supports the discount sticker system. People are not embarrassed to buy discounted food because it aligns with the value of not wasting. If the food is still good, why would you not buy it? Letting it go to waste would be Mottainai. This cultural backdrop makes all the practical systems work better. A discount system only reduces waste if people actually buy the discounted food. In Japan, they do in large numbers because the culture supports it. In countries without that cultural foundation, discount food is sometimes stigmatized. People associate it with poverty or poor quality. Stores hesitate to discount aggressively because they worry it will hurt their brand. Japan does not have that hesitation. The food is good. The price is lower. That is the entire equation. Mottainai closes the loop. 6. Restaurants that serve smaller portions as the default to reduce plate waste. Go to a typical Japanese restaurant and the portion sizes are noticeably smaller than in the United States, Australia, or many parts of Europe. This is not about stinginess. It is about matching the portion to what people actually eat. A standard set meal might include a small bowl of rice, a piece of grilled fish, miso soup, pickles, and a side of vegetables. Everything is proportioned to be finished. You are not staring at a plate piled so high that finishing it feels like a challenge. If you are still hungry, you can order more. Many places offer extra rice for free or for a small charge, but the default is designed to minimize leftovers. This reduces waste at the restaurant level. Less food is scraped off plates into the trash. At home, Japanese grocery stores sell vegetables individually or in small bundles. You can buy 1 carrot, 1 bell pepper, 2 potatoes. You do not have to buy a whole bag unless you want to. This allows people to buy exactly what they need for a meal, which reduces household food waste. Western supermarkets, by contrast, often only sell vegetables in large pre-packed quantities. You need 1 zucchini, but you have to buy 3. The other 2 sit in the fridge and rot. Japan designed the purchasing options to match actual usage patterns. If you are enjoying this so far, hit the subscribe button. It helps more people discover solutions like these. And if you want to see what other problems Japan has quietly solved while the rest of the world argues about them, subscribe so you do not miss the next one. 7. Supermarkets that donate unsold food to food banks through streamlined partnerships. Japan has a growing network of food banks that collect unsold food from supermarkets, convenience stores, and restaurants, and distribute it to people in need. Organizations like Second Harvest Japan and regional food banks coordinate pickups on regular schedules. Supermarkets set aside items that are approaching expiration but are still safe, and the food banks pick them up, often the same day. The process is smoother than in many other countries because Japan has clear food safety regulations that protect donors from liability as long as the food meets safety standards at the time of donation. This legal clarity encourages participation. Stores do not worry about being sued if someone gets sick from donated food, as long as they followed proper handling procedures. The food banks then distribute the food through welfare organizations, shelters, and community groups. It is not a perfect system. Japan's food bank network is still smaller per capita than in some Western countries, but it is growing and it functions as another layer of waste reduction. Food that does not sell at full price gets discounted. Food that does not sell at a discount gets donated. Only after both those steps does anything approach the trash. In many countries, donation is an afterthought or logistically complicated. Pickup schedules are inconsistent. Liability rules are unclear. Stores find it easier to just throw things away. Japan made donation part of the standard waste hierarchy. 8. Separate trash systems that include composting infrastructure for food waste. Japanese waste separation is famously detailed. Burnable trash, non-burnable trash, plastics, cans, bottles, paper, and in many municipalities, food waste gets its own category. In cities with organic waste collection, residents separate food scraps into designated bags or bins. These get collected on specific days, separate from other trash. The food waste goes to composting facilities or biogas plants where it is converted into compost for agriculture or methane for energy production. Tokyo has been expanding its food waste recycling infrastructure. Kyoto has residential composting programs. Even in areas without citywide collection, many apartment buildings and neighborhoods have communal composting stations. The system requires participation. You cannot just throw everything in one bin. But because the culture already emphasizes sorting and responsibility, compliance is high. People learn the system and follow it. The result is that even food waste that cannot be eaten is converted into something useful rather than rotting in a landfill and producing methane. A potent greenhouse gas. Compare this to most countries where food waste goes into the general trash, gets thrown into a landfill, and contributes directly to emissions. Japan built the infrastructure and the culture to treat food waste as a resource, not garbage. 9. Bento box culture that uses every part of the ingredient and values presentation. The Japanese bento box is not just lunch. It is an entire philosophy of food preparation that minimizes waste and maximizes variety. A traditional bento contains small portions of many items: rice, protein, pickles, vegetables, sometimes fruit. Everything is arranged carefully in compartments. The variety means you use small amounts of many ingredients, which makes it easier to use up leftovers and scraps. A few slices of leftover fish from dinner, a couple pieces of vegetable, a small portion of rice. All of it gets transformed into a complete meal. Nothing is wasted. Bento culture also values seasonal ingredients and presentation. Using what is in season means produce is cheaper and fresher, which reduces the chance of it spoiling before use. Arranging it beautifully makes even simple ingredients feel special. This cultural practice reinforces habits that reduce waste. You think in terms of small portions and variety. You use what you have. You do not need huge amounts of any one thing. This mindset extends beyond bento. Japanese home cooking in general uses ingredients efficiently. Fish bones become broth. Vegetable scraps go into soup stock. Rice that is a day old gets turned into fried rice or onigiri. The culture has a deep repertoire of techniques for using everything. Meanwhile, many Western kitchens treat leftovers as something to tolerate, not transform. The creativity is not there. The result is more waste. 10. Food manufacturers that design packaging to preserve freshness and allow resealing. Japanese snack and food packaging often includes resealable zippers, fold-over adhesive strips or clips that come attached to the bag. A bag of potato chips has a resealable top. A package of crackers has individually wrapped portions inside the outer bag. This packaging design keeps food fresh longer after opening, which means people do not have to eat the entire package at once or watch it go stale. You can open a bag of chips, take out a portion, seal it back up, and come back days later. The chips are still crispy. This reduces the chance of people throwing away half a bag because it went stale before they could finish it. The same principle applies to other products. Bread comes in resealable bags, cheese has zip-top packaging, dried goods come in containers with tight-fitting lids. The culture expects this level of packaging engineering. If something goes stale quickly, people will complain and switch brands. Manufacturers respond by designing better packaging. In other countries, packaging is often single-use by default. Once you open it, the clock is ticking. You either finish it fast or it goes bad. Japan built freshness preservation into the product design. 11. Restaurant portion transparency, where the menu shows you the size before you order. Many Japanese restaurants display plastic or wax replicas of dishes in the front window or on counters inside. These replicas are incredibly detailed. The portion size, the color of the food, the way it is plated, you see exactly what you are going to get before you order. This eliminates surprises. You do not order something thinking it is a light snack and get a massive plate you cannot finish. You do not order a main dish and discover it is tiny. The transparency allows customers to make better choices, which reduces plate waste. If you know the portion is big, you can split it or order less. If you know it is small, you can add a side. Many chain restaurants also list the calorie count, portion weight, or serving size on the menu. Places like Sukiya and Yoshinoya let you choose small, medium, or large rice portions when ordering a beef bowl. This customization means you get what you actually want to eat, not a standardized pile that may or may not match your appetite. Western restaurants rarely give you this level of information. You guess based on vague menu descriptions. You hope the portion is right, often it is not. The result is wasted food because the restaurant served more than the customer wanted. Japan solved it with transparency and choice. 12. Typhoon and disaster preparedness systems that prevent supply chain waste. Japan is hit by typhoons, earthquakes, and other natural disasters regularly. These disrupt supply chains. Farms cannot harvest, trucks cannot deliver, store shelves empty. Early in disaster response development, this led to waste on both ends. Food rotting in warehouses because it could not be transported. Panic buying creating artificial shortages. Over decades, Japan built systems to reduce both problems. Supermarkets and convenience stores use predictive data to adjust orders before a typhoon hits. If a storm is coming, stores increase orders for shelf-stable items people will want, like instant noodles and batteries, and reduce orders for fresh produce that might spoil if deliveries are delayed. After the disaster, logistics networks prioritize getting food to affected areas quickly. Convenience stores are often the first retail locations to reopen after an earthquake because their supply chain systems are designed for rapid recovery. This prevents the waste that happens when food is stranded in distribution centers or when fresh food spoils because transport was delayed. At the consumer level, Japanese households tend to keep emergency food supplies that rotate through regular use. You buy canned goods and dried food for emergencies, but you use and replace them regularly so nothing sits until it expires. The culture treats disaster preparedness as normal, not paranoid. That reduces the chance of emergency supplies becoming waste. Other countries experience supply chain disruptions and waste food in the chaos. Japan built resilience into the system. 13. Restaurants that adjust pricing based on time of day to smooth demand and reduce waste. Some Japanese restaurants and food businesses use dynamic pricing to manage demand and minimize waste. A sushi restaurant might offer discount sets during off-peak hours, say between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. when foot traffic is low. This brings in customers during slow periods and prevents the kitchen from preparing food that sits unsold during peak times. Izakayas and chains like Caesarea sometimes have time-limited specials that move specific ingredients before they spoil. If the kitchen has extra chicken that needs to be used today, the special promotes a chicken dish at a lower price. Customers get a deal. The restaurant avoids waste. This dynamic approach is less common in other countries, where menus and prices tend to be static throughout the day. Restaurants prepare based on expected peak demand and throw away what does not sell during slower times. Japan used pricing flexibility as a waste reduction tool. It is not a universal practice, but it is common enough that regular diners know to look for time-based deals. The strategy works because it aligns incentives. Customers want value. Restaurants want to avoid waste. Dynamic pricing satisfies both. 14. The cultural stigma against leaving food on your plate that closes the loop. In Japanese dining culture, finishing your meal is a sign of respect. It shows appreciation for the food, the person who prepared it, and the resources that went into it. Leaving food on your plate can be seen as wasteful or rude, especially in someone's home or at a traditional restaurant. This cultural norm creates pressure to only take what you will eat. At a buffet, people take smaller portions and go back for more if they are still hungry, rather than piling a plate high and leaving half of it. At home, parents teach children to finish their rice partly because of Mottainai and partly because rice is culturally significant. This is not about guilt or shame in a harsh sense. It is about mindfulness. You think about whether you are actually hungry before taking more. You pay attention to portion sizes. The result is less food wasted at the individual level. In cultures where leaving food on your plate is normalized or even expected, waste happens casually. People take more than they want because there is no social cost to not finishing. Japan built the social cost in gently and waste went down. 15. Schools that teach food waste reduction as part of everyday education. Japanese elementary and middle schools include lessons on food, agriculture, and waste as part of the standard curriculum. Students learn where food comes from. They visit farms. They plant rice and vegetables in school gardens. They prepare meals together in cooking classes. Part of this education focuses on not wasting food. Teachers explain the effort that goes into growing food and the environmental cost of waste. Students are taught to take only what they will eat during school lunch and to finish what is on their tray. In many schools, lunch is served in the classroom and students help serve each other. They see the portions and can ask for smaller amounts if they know they will not finish. Anything left over is shared or composted. This education creates habits that last. Children grow up understanding that food waste is not inevitable, it is a choice. They learn the systems and cultural attitudes that prevent waste. By the time they are adults, not wasting food is second nature. In many other countries, food education in schools is minimal or non-existent. Students do not learn where food comes from or what happens when it is wasted. They grow up treating food as abundant and disposable. Japan built the education early. The cultural foundation starts in childhood. At 8 p.m. in Japanese supermarkets, those bright discount stickers are not just about saving money. They are the visible tip of an entire culture that treats food as valuable from farm to table to landfill. If you want to see more things Japan is doing that the rest of the world should be copying, hit subscribe and check out the video on screen right now. The reason Japan has figured this out, while other countries are still struggling, is not because they have some secret technology or unlimited resources. It is because they connected the dots between culture, infrastructure, policy, and individual behavior. Each system reinforces the others. The discount stickers work because the culture supports buying discounted food. The culture supports it because people understand Mottainai and have been taught since childhood that waste is wrong. Schools teach it because the government made it part of the curriculum. The government prioritized it because the culture demanded it. The supply chain precision exists because stores are rewarded for reducing waste through higher profits. Every piece fits. You cannot copy just the sticker system and expect it to work without the cultural foundation. You cannot build the infrastructure without the policy support. That is what most countries miss. They see one thing Japan does well and try to transplant it without understanding the ecosystem it lives in. Food waste is not a logistics problem alone or a culture problem alone or a policy problem alone. It is all three working together. Japan recognized that years ago and built systems accordingly. The rest of the world is still treating food waste like it is a single issue with a single solution. It is not. It is a complex system that requires thinking across multiple layers at the same time. That is harder, it takes longer, but it actually works. And Japan is the proof.